Make your goal so small, it's ridiculous not to do. I have to give credit to Em in our creative living community for this phrase that absolutely struck a chord with me as we were in a planning session together, talking about how when we face big goals, big dreams, big to-do lists, big whatever, how sometimes so paralyzing that can be. And also how we can end up procrastinating, we can end up putting things off. Sometimes we don't even know what the next step is. We want to do something, we want to do it so badly, but we don't do it because it's become this big thing in our heads and we don't know the next step. So sometimes it's not even about fear, it's about just literally, I don't even know what to do next. I want to do it, but I don't know where to start. So in this episode, that's what we're going to talk about. So I just love this. Make your goal so small, it's ridiculous not to do it. And that's been one of my little mantras now as I've been planning and creating a vision for 2026. As I'm recording this, I have a vision board with things mapped out, also on my wall with my top 3 for this year. And my goals, I have one goal which is quite big, to expand and grow our creative living platform and to really immerse myself in the philosophy and the actual feeling of creative living and what I mean by that myself. Also, my goal is to, as part of creative living, is to not only run the platform, to actually do the work myself, to develop my own art. The other top 3 of mine, one is to have a retreat and the other one is to start in person, like an in-person art club. And so those things alone have felt quite big, and when we were having a planning session recently, I hadn't created a vision board, and I sat in the planning session and I put on my to-do list, create a vision board. And it felt so big and enormous. I didn't know what was going to go on it. I didn't know where to start. It was just overwhelming. And that was in the moment when we were talking about how to bring a goal down to the tiniest next step. And with the vision board, it was as simple as take the old vision board and take the images off. That was it. Oh my gosh, it was a game changer, because I was thinking way too far ahead, thinking what images need to go on there? What's it going to represent? What's it going to be? And I didn't know the answers to that yet. So all I had to do was take the vision board off the shelf and take the images off. That was it. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. And then once I take the images off, put them away, then I could figure out the next easiest step. So the next easiest step, which then came to me after I took the first easiest step, and I wouldn't have known this if I hadn't have taken the first easiest step, which was just take the images off. I would have sat there trying to figure it out in my head. We have to do. So I took the images off, and then I realized, right, okay, I've got a mind map with ideas of what I would like from the future in terms of money, in terms of art, in terms of life. And I downloaded out of my head and mind mapped. So I then sat and thought, okay, the next easiest step would be to sit with those mind maps, take some post-it notes, and just transfer what's on the mind map onto the post-it note and stick it onto my vision board. And then I can go through the mind map, see what I feel is important and what I want to go on the future vision, and take it from there. And that's what I did. So I turned the ideas. So, for example, one of them will have been to have a second home. One is to be part-time in 5 years. Some on the topic of my word for the month, word of the year, which is sovereignty. So I put sovereignty on a post-it note, part-time, abundance, second home. And so they became post-it notes, easy. So then the next easiest task was to just take one of those post-it notes and go and find an image that represents it and replace the post-it note with the image. And that's how I then ended up doing the vision board, which ended up taking me less than 1 hour. But here's the crazy thing. If I hadn't have taken the first next step, I could have easily have spent 5 hours thinking about doing that vision board. And this is where things trip us up in life. We think about doing things. We think, I've got to do that. I haven't done this. Oh, I've got this thing to do and I don't know the next step. We waste so much time thinking about stuff that actually, if we can bring things down to the simplest next step, they don't weigh us down anymore with should-haves and need tos. And we start building momentum. So going back to my 3 big goals for the year, which feel big, creating a huge platform, going back to my own art, which takes a lot of time, and a lot of thinking time, and the in-person thing, which I don't know about you, but when you're so ingrained in life with a certain way of living and working, I've been in the online world for 10 years now, and which, by the way, we've got a 10th anniversary event in person. If you would like to attend, I'll drop the link below because we've only got 5 tickets left. We're going to meet in person and have the most incredible day in the most incredible location. Side note. But 10 years online, and to do in-person things is so far removed from what I do that it requires more brain power to think, like, how do I do this? So anything online I can do with my eyes closed. I can run events, I can set up like massive events online, no problem. Set up a local event with 5 people is like, oh, how do I do that? So because it's a massive context switch, it's a context switch from what I know, live and breathe and comfortable in. It's not about fear. I've got no fear of setting up a little group with 5 people in it. It's about just the context switch of, oh, what is the next step here? Because I'm so in the online world, that is what I live and breathe. Now, before I had the online version of United Art Space, it was all in person. That's what I used to do, run workshops, run spaces. So I know it, I've done it before, but 10 years out of that, so again, it was like breaking it down into the tiniest little next step. And for me, it was reach out to one person who lives locally that runs workshops already. And I always say this to people, that if you want to do something, like if you wanted to go somewhere, say you live in the UK and you want to go to Africa, the most logical thing to do would be to find someone that's been to Africa, and that could be a travel agent or know someone, and ask them how they got there. And that's the same with anything in life. I'm a big believer in find the people that have done it already and start there. And that was how I wrote my book. That's how I've launched United Art Space. It's how I've done everything. I find people that have done it already. So that was my logical, basic next step. So I had a little think about the people that I know locally. An artist sprang to mind immediately. If it hadn't, I would have gone and found someone, just make it that my mission, like one person locally that does this already or is connected to this world already. And so I have that date in my diary now. That was the one next thing, was just to reach out. And I can't tell you how long that was on my to-do list, to just reach out to that person. All I had to do was send a message to that person to arrange a meeting. Now that was fear. So when you start to delay things that are so simple, this is why I love this statement. Make a goal so small, it's ridiculous not to do it. My goal was so tiny, all it required was send Caris a message to arrange a meeting. That was it. And then I kept procrastinating it. Now, when you make your goal so small that it's ridiculous not to do it, if you're not doing it, it's giving you information. It's telling you that there is some resistance. And that's the time to kind of dig in and ask yourself, what's stopping me here? Now, I think in my situation, I think if I'm being honest, I think there's this kind of like perception in my mind that if I start doing things in person, it's going to take me away from my online business, and then it's not what I know. And it was like this weird thing I'd created in my head that just wasn't real. So I quickly reframed it. It's just a meeting with a friend to catch up. It started to represent something bigger in my mind, which was why I was procrastinating on it. So we can look at things practically. It's just this. It's just a tiny step. It's really, really great information when you have made it so small that you're not taking action on it, or tell you something about yourself that needs to change, or doesn't need to change, but if you want to take the step, it will show you where's the resistance coming from, and how can you change that in yourself so that you can take that small next step. And so, I've been taking a series of small steps this year, and it's been incredible because I then started to think about the next smallest step would be to find a venue that I could hold my art club in. And that in itself seemed like a huge job too, because it was like, well, I can just go and find a venue. But I've explained this in the past. If we say we want to travel, until we define where we want to travel to, it kind of sits as this big goal. And finding a venue felt like me saying I want to travel. It was like, there's so many venues. Where do I start? So again, for me, that was just not small enough to take the action. And I sat with it for a while. And this is, again, why I believe in the power of people around you to support and encourage and inspire your direction in life, which is my whole philosophy now in terms of creative living. I've created this pathway of how you live, create, become. All of it is down to the people that you have around you, 100%. And so I started to chat to people about a club and looking for space, and just throwing it out there, I'm looking for a space. And then someone got back to me and said, do you know, Michelle, your studio space that you used to run back in 2012, that has come available. I was like, what? So I ended up going there a couple of days ago, and that is going to be the place that I hold my sessions. I'm going right back to where United Art Space was founded. It's absolutely incredibly exciting. Now, how crazy is that? And so I wanted to share this because sometimes you don't know the next step, but by talking to people and to share what you're looking for, or if I hadn't have been guided towards that through a conversation, probably the next step for me would have been just to look at my immediate local area and speak to Caris, where do you have your workshop space, and find a space, So I would have whittled it down. But here's the crazy thing. Since finding this studio space again and being brought back to it, it pulled me back to it. It's crazy that this is where I founded United Art Space, in this building, and it's become available, and I can go and host my workshops there. It blows my mind. And so it's about noticing the signs, noticing things around you, and having the conversations with people. And that's where life becomes so crazy, the happenstance, the moments that seem like, how could that be? How could this happen? This building hasn't been available, and all of a sudden, when I'm looking for a space, the building that I started United Art Space in becomes available again. But I didn't even know that. Someone else told me about it because I created the vision and because I started talking about it. This is how the world works. And sometimes it's noticing these small steps that you're taking and really feeling them. Wow, isn't that incredible? And I think the more you can have that attitude towards the steps that you take, which again, inside our creative living platform, we take time to do this every month in Review Plan Do. We are noticing what's happening in our lives. We are taking notice of the signs, the conversations. This is where, the dots start to add up. We make sense. Opportunities come our way because we start noticing and we start talking to the right people. And then crazy things start to happen in our life. And then when you really notice and you pay attention and you feel it, this is what raises your energy, this vibrational energy that you have. And we all have, when we talk about a vibe, something having a vibe, you have a vibe. And this is what raises that vibe. And then what happens is you start to see more opportunities. Then it's almost like when you look in and you start one small step, you see the next step. And then the next step comes to you, and then things start moving. So when I went to see that space and I was like, oh my gosh, I can start my club. I can see my club happening now. I couldn't see it before, but this has given me enough now to see the space. I can see people in it. I can see what it's going to become. The next day, a message popped in, giving me the exact answer of what that club is going to be. It's just like everything's starting to come my way. And it's an incredible feeling. And then what happens is when you start to take those steps, you're switched on. You're noticing. It's the pineapple syndrome. Now I have a pineapple and I'm going to start seeing pineapples everywhere. And it's the same thing. It's when you start to really bring something into your focus, you'll start to see the opportunities that relate to that everywhere. So I am now seeing, oh my gosh, I know so many people with cafes and they're not open after a certain time and I could use their cafes. And this has opened up my brain now. Now I can see so many steps. And so going back to making things ridiculously small, in terms of my own art, it feels massive. It's like, I need to have a big studio space. I've got all these big ideas and that's just too much right now. What's the smallest, tiniest next step? So first of all, it was go and buy some new pens, because why not? We all need a reason to buy new pens or new art materials, don't we? So I knew I wanted to doodle and I want to draw a lot more. And so my pens are really quite old. So my ridiculous next step was just to go and buy some pens. When the pens came, I then thought, how can I make this ridiculously small? Because in my head, I want to make a ginormous Zentangle that is huge, 2 meters by a meter long. It's that's like the vision board. It's just too big. So I got the tiniest little sketchbook. It's so cute. It's about 2 inches, would you say? Or maybe 1.5 inches by 1 inch. If you're watching this on screen, I'm holding it up. If you're not, I'll drop a picture below. And so it's a tiny little sketchbook, and I keep it on my desk. And so when I'm working, every now and again I'll need a break. I will just draw a couple of patterns. I'll just draw a line, some dots, colour a little bit in, and stop. I literally do it for a few seconds and then put it away. And this has reignited, something in me. It's just so relaxing, so lovely. I love the little sketchbook. It's so cute. And, and now I've kind of graduated up to the bigger sketchbook and started to take the next step of what's the next little step. And so, just having a tiny little sketchbook like this, it's not so daunting as having a big, massive blank page in front of you. it's not as daunting as thinking I need a finished piece or I need to be careful with this. It's just literally creating something so tiny. And also I had to really think about how I was going to fill this space. It's so small. Like, what do I do on such a small piece of paper? And so it's been so freeing. So I highly recommend having a tiny little journal, little sketchbook. Oh, wonderful. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, it's been a great start to the year. We are nearly a quarter of the way in, and it's flying. And so we have to make the most of this time we have and live the most creative, joyous, happy life that we can, especially in these times that are really difficult in many places around the world. I think showing up to create and to share joy and to share these moments of creativity with each other, it's the light that we all need. I'm going to end on that one this week. Take care. Bye-bye.